All right, fellas, let's talk about the NBA Finals. We've been waiting over a week. Hope you guys have enjoyed the downtime. Maybe you spent time with family. Maybe you spent time with friends. Got that trip in that you wanted to get in all year. Maybe you were watching some WNBA. But let's talk about some NBA Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. First of all, I'd like to say big L for me because I predicted a Nuggets-Bucks NBA Finals before the year started. Now, preseason predictions are obviously a fool's errand anyway, but why not have fun when talking basketball, you know? Got the Western Conference Finals completely wrong. Got the Eastern Conference Finals, well, half right. And now we are here. What we play for. What we follow our team for all season. Following every game, every one of the 82 games like it's an NFL Sunday and there's 16 games on the schedule, except you're treating it like that for every single game. And we are finally here. Luka, Kyrie, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, sensational rookie, the trade pieces like Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, as I already mentioned. Superstars, great role players, much maligned coaches being in the NBA Finals with Joe Mazzulla and Jason Kidd. So I have been mulling over this series. I have legitimately had a hard time picking who I think will win this series. And so I want to key in on 5 things that come to my mind or that I've been thinking about that I think will be really key in this series. And then I will give my prediction at the end. Try not to be long-winded with this, but let's start with key number 1. Of course, we got to talk about how the Boston Celtics are going to try to guard Luka Doncic, let alone trying to guard both Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But mainly for the purposes of this particular point about how the Celtics guard Luka, because that's going to be the end-all be-all, and how the Celtics defend Luka will have a trickle-down effect to, Kyrie Irving attacking a compromised defense, how many corner threes they're going to allow, which I will talk about later. Are the Celtics going to continue with the drop coverage? Are they going to switch more? Are they going to switch 1 through 4? These are all questions I am very interested in when it comes to how the Celtics are going to try to guard Luka Doncic. With Porzingis in there, obviously with Horford in there as well, the Celtics like to run drop coverage. How high are you going to have Porzingis or Horford at the level? Are you going to send 2 to the ball? And then that trickles down into short roll decisions from Derek Lively, which he has been very good at, and clearly the best Mavs big man on that roster to do that. Or swing it to Kyrie Irving, and then from there he's attacking a compromised defense. Are they willing to live with, losing via PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., Jaden Hardy, or even Tim Hardaway Jr. if he ever finds his way back into the rotation? I imagine he won't. Are they willing to live with those guys corner threeing them to death? And that's going to be the ultimate problem. The Timberwolves defense couldn't solve it, and everybody made a big deal about the Timberwolves drop coverage, and rightfully so. But honestly, the Timberwolves tried everything. If you actually watch those games, they tried switching, they tried trapping, they tried putting Rudy higher up at the level, they tried drop. Nothing could work against Luka Doncic because, like with Jokic and a few others in the NBA, those guys are just unsolvable. And you're going to have to hope they have an off shooting night. You're going to have to try to throw so many coverages at them throughout the game that you confuse Luka for a bit before he figures it out. But if any team has the personnel to do that, it's the Boston Celtics. Now, I do wonder how the Celtics or who the Celtics will put on Luka to start the game. In the one game the Mavericks played it in Boston post-trade deadline, basically when the Mavs had their roster that we see now. They started off with Drew Holiday, Derek White was on him a lot, and Luka just took those guys to the post and just bullied them basically. And Drew Holiday's a strong dude. Derek White, one of the best guard defenders in the NBA. So do you start Jaylen Brown on Luka, which is what they did in the second half? Do you start Jason Tatum on him for a bit? You don't want to get those guys in foul trouble, and I imagine the 2 guards are going to be on Luka and Kyrie Irving respectively, but are you giving up too much to Luka already? with giving him post opportunities. And then you run that drop coverage because you're banking on Holiday and Derek White fighting over whatever screen is being set. And then all of a sudden, Luka has you in jail on his backside, and then the lob is open, which made up the majority of Luka's assists in that game against the Celtics back in March. A lot of lively lobs, a lot of, if they get trapped, Luka's still finding them on the roll or finding Kyrie Irving for, a nice drive layup. That is going to be very interesting. Number 2, on the other side, both of these defenses have been great in the playoffs, and I wonder how the Mavs defense is going to try to contain Boston, because Boston has one of the best offenses. They like to take a lot of threes, they make a lot of threes, and then they use their defense to ignite transition. And basically, since the trade deadline, the Mavericks have flat out been one of the best defenses in the NBA, and they showed it in the playoffs. They really defended the Timberwolves well. They guarded the Thunder well. Obviously, the Clippers series, but I think the Celtics present a different challenge compared to all of the other Mavs opponents in the playoffs, and the Celtics do deserve that respect as a 64-win team. All 5 of the Celtics in the starting lineup are threats, and 4 of them have the ability to dribble, drive, kick, shoot. Porzingis can also take advantage on switches, and I don't know if the Celtics want to do that. I'm sure the Mavs will live with that, but Porzingis can stretch the floor. He can post up on a switch. He can shoot over the top at the elbows. But the Mavericks, I think, are going to have a little bit of a more difficult challenge trying to contain all 4 of the Boston Celtics perimeter players. Those guys can set screens for each other. They can pop out. They can also slip. And I wonder if the Mavericks have enough horses to defend all those different actions. I just think every Celtics player on the floor, even Porzingis to an extent, if he can get Lively and Gafford out on the perimeter, can do a little bit of a dribble drive type of game. Basically, all the Celtics starting 5 are threats off of a live dribble. And compared to the Timberwolves, where the Mavericks could load up on Anthony Edwards and live with Jaden McDaniels beating them, living with Rudy Gobert trying to take advantage of switches and allowing the Timberwolves to try to feed Rudy Gobert on switches like they did in the last few games of that Western Conference Finals. Or you just sag off of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who went cold the last 3 games of that series. The Mavericks basically had ways to ignore certain players on the Timberwolves. And then with the Thunder, obviously they had to make the switch and take Josh Giddey out of the starting lineup in the latter part of the series. With the Celtics, Drew Holiday can get his. He's had a career year scoring the ball. We all know the career year Derek White has had. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, while not, their peak numbers, they're still really great efficiently, great two-way players, and obviously they could score the ball. And Jaylen Brown has been fantastic all playoffs. Jason Tatum, for all the criticism he has gotten, averaged 30, 10, and 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Mavericks have been great at protecting the rim all playoffs, and I wonder how much they are going to let Gafford and Lively be pulled out. You can't really put Gafford or Lively or Maxi Kleber if he, gets more acclimated returning from that shoulder injury. I don't know where they could hide those other guys and take them off of Porzingis so they could stay near the basket. And I just wonder how the Mavs are going to try to scheme up a way to slow down this Boston Celtics offense. They've been a great defense since the All-Star break, and this is where the coaches are going to make their money. Now let's go to Boston's offensive process, because that is the thing that has been harped on all year by me, probably by you if you're a Celtics skeptic, and by media members. How the Celtics go about getting their shots. Are they going to continue to attack the rim, which they have been pretty good at since the All-Star break? And are their threes going to be generated via drive and kick and swinging the ball? Or are there going to be early shot clock threes? Are they going to devolve to isolation and Jason Tatum takes a bunch of pull-up threes? Are they going to take advantage if Porzingis is somehow switched onto a smaller defender? How the Boston Celtics go about their offensive attack is going to be very key, because if they take early shot clock threes, for example, and the Mavericks get a run out, the Mavericks have been deadly in transition all playoffs. They average 100 135.8 points per 100 possessions in transition. And when you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving leading that transition attack, that number does not surprise me, although the number is still crazy high. But if the Celtics don't turn the ball over and don't devolve into isolation and taking early threes in the shot clock or taking bad contested mid-range shots, the Celtics have the offensive firepower to get whatever shot they want if they don't play dumb basketball, especially in crunch time, which is where, honestly, for me, I trust Luka and Kyrie way more than anybody else on the Celtics roster in crunch time. If the Celtics don't devolve into playing dumb basketball around that time, if the game is close, then I see no reason why the Celtics shouldn't have success on the offensive end, even with how good the Dallas defense has been. And for as much as Luka and Kyrie have been good on that end as well, you can still attack them in ways. And the Celtics, I think, they have deeper offensive talent across the board. The Mavericks might have the top two guys you want offensively. The Celtics across the board have the offensive talent to find success on any spot on the floor, even if the Mavericks take something away here or take something away there. Then for the Mavericks, they have been making hay with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, breaking down the defense, getting two on the ball, and then it eventually leads to a bunch of corner threes. I pulled up some stats from Cleaning the Glass to, double check my numbers, but the Mavericks, 13% of their shots come from the corners. They have been taking corner threes all playoffs. Derrick Jones Jr. has made people pay. PJ Washington has made teams pay. They generate a lot of corner threes as a result of Luka and Kyrie just attracting so much attention. And then sometimes it'll come via the short roll decision, or Luka will do those crazy skip passes across the court or from the post. And the Celtics defense allows the fewest corner threes all playoffs. So that battle right there is going to be interesting. The Mavericks, they've taken away three-pointers, but not corner threes, funny enough. The Mavericks allow the fourth fewest amount of three-point attempts in these playoffs. 23% of opponents' field goals against the Mavericks are three-pointers. The Celtics have taken the 10th most corner threes in these playoffs at 9.4% of their shots come from the corners. And the Mavericks, they allow the 18th most corner threes in these playoffs so far. So that part of the three-point battle is interesting because the Mavericks and the Celtics go about it in different ways. But the Celtics, their main thing is that they take away the corners because they can switch 1 through 4. They can keep their defense in that drop coverage or even play at the level. And I wonder how much Luka and Kyrie will eat up that scheme before the Celtics go to switching across all positions, which they did do a few times in that March 1st game. And with varying results, Luka was able to get some shots against Horford, against Porzingis. It came with mixed results, but I'm sure having your big on an island against Luka is the last thing anybody wants to see. So that part will be interesting. And then number 5 for me is the rebounding battle. The Celtics dominated the Pacers on the offensive glass last series. The Mavericks have been great on the offensive glass all playoffs. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, key offensive rebounds in very pivotal games, all playoffs. And for me, everybody is big across the board except for Kyrie Irving in the Mavericks starting lineup. Drew Holiday and Derek White are big for guards. And then you have the two forwards, Tatum and Brown, and then Porzingis and Horford. I just wonder who's going to win that battle on the glass because I think that's going to be very important. Because if you give either of these teams extra chances, they're going to make you pay because you don't want the Celtics crashing the offensive glass and then your defense is scrambling against all that shooting they have. And then you don't want to give two of the best offensive players in NBA history another shot at a reset possession. So those are the 5 keys I'm looking for. I've been going back and forth on who I think will win this series. It's very tough, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. I thought Mavericks one day, Celtics the next. Even did the my heart tells me X, but my brain tells me X. Obviously, I think either team has a chance at beating the other. but I'm going Celtics in 6.